When a member of Congress starts listing mass murders and an FBI official struggles to even recognize their names, that's not confusion, that's denial. In this tense exchange, Rep. Kamlager-Dove forces the FBI to confront what many still refuse to say out loud: that far-right extremism isn't a fringe issue. It's America's most dangerous homegrown threat.
Lady from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Director, for coming here today. And actually, thank you for your response to my colleague from New York who asked you earlier about violent extremism. And you said that there is violent extreme ideology on both sides. And I think you actually alluded to that same statement yesterday in the Senate. So I too have some questions I'd like to ask you. These are not gotcha questions, and just deny, please, what you deem to be false. So Dylan Roof, who followed white supremacist propaganda, murdered 9 black parishioners in Charleston in 2015. Do you deny this?
I'm sorry. Dylan Ruth?
Roof?
Roof, can you give me some more information?
You're head of the FBI, you probably know this. If you don't know, that's fine. You
can give me a reminder, I've got a lot in front of me.
It was national news. Robert Bowers murdered 11 Jewish worshipers in Pittsburgh in 2018.
I do remember that.
And it was the deadliest anti-Semitic attack. So do you admit that that happened?
I'm not saying the other thing didn't happen, I'm just asking for a little information.
Patrick Cruces, who posted a manifesto about a Hispanic invasion, walked into a Walmart in El Paso, Texas in 2019 and began firing. He murdered 23 people that day, and the youngest was 15. Do you admit or deny that that happened?
I'll take your presentation as accurate.
All right, well, I have to say all of these cases have been adjudicated. As I said, they are not gotcha questions. These incidents were national news. And as director of the FBI, you have access to all of this information. So in 2022, Peyton Grendon walked into a supermarket in a black neighborhood in Buffalo, New York, and started shooting. He murdered 10 people that day. And on September 10th, your friend Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Tyler Robinson has been taken into custody and charged, but also on that day, Desmond Holley, a 16-year-old white male, shot and injured 2 students at a high school in Colorado before killing himself. And according to the Anti-Defamation League, he had a fascination with mass shootings and white supremacy. So do you admit to, deny these facts?
Those happened.
Okay. Your predecessor, former FBI Director Christopher Wray, said that one of the most dangerous concerns is that racially motivated violent extremism, especially white supremacists, has been the biggest chunk of our domestic terrorism cases and is responsible for the most lethal attacks over the last decade. Do you admit or deny, A, that he said this?
I'll let the record reflect that. Whatever he said was what he said.
All right, and do you agree?
That there is racially motivated crimes being committed in America, yes.
Yes, especially white supremacists, which is the biggest chunk of our domestic terrorism. I'm glad that you said this. So last week, President Trump was asked if there were extremists on both the left and the right. He was actually asked this by Fox and Friends, and his exact words were, "I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. The radicals on the left are the problem, and they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy." Do you agree with the president?
I don't speak for the president speaks for himself.
Do you agree with the president?
I don't, on what matter?
On the question that I just asked, do you agree with his statement about the radical left?
That there's ideology that's driving violence on both sides? Yes, that's what he acknowledged.
No, he didn't. He didn't. Okay. But I'm glad that you're saying that and actually creating some separation between you and the president. And I'm glad that you are acknowledging that there is violent extremism on both sides. What's interesting is that the research arm of the Department of Justice, the National Institute of Justice, do you know what that is?
I'm familiar with them.
Okay, great. It is the research arm of the Department of Justice, and it published an article in 2024 devoted to domestic radicalization, violent extremism, and terrorism. I have it. It's interesting that it's no longer on the website. It has been scrubbed, but I ask these questions because what makes a strong, qualified director of any business, of any household, of the FBI, what makes a reputable prosecutor is not lapdog loyalty, but a commitment to the creed that evidence is agnostic and that the evidence will lead you to making the right decisions. And your job, no one's job is to like the data or the evidence, it is to collect it. That is how you gain trust. And Mr. Chair, I would like to enter into the record, if I may. White supremacist group stands by racist ideology with unanimous consent.
Without objection.
Dylan Roof, the radicalization of the alt-right and ritualized racial violence.
Without objection.
Thank you. Another article, how Robert Bowers went from conservative to white nationalist. I'd like to enter that into the record with me.
Without objection.
Patrick Cruces believed he was fulfilling Trump's wishes in El Paso attack, his attorneys said. I'd like to enter into the record.
Without objection.
Buffalo shooting, how far-right killers are radicalized online. I'd like to enter that into the record.
Without objection.
Evergreen high school shooters' online activity reveals fascination with mass shootings, white supremacy. I'd like to enter that into the record.
Without objection.
Murder and Extremism in the United States in 2024, a report by the Anti-Defamation League. I'd like to enter that into the record.
Without objection.
And the article, the report that was scrubbed from the DOJ just recently, National Institute of Justice Journal focusing on domestic radicalization, violent extremism, and terrorism. I'd like to enter that into the record.
Without objection.
And lastly, the libertarian think tank Cato and their analysis on violent extremism and the right rising in extremist acts. I'd like to enter that into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
What you just watched was more than a back and forth. It was a reality check and an indictment of selective memory. Congresswoman Kamlager-Dove wasn't just listing names. She was holding up a mirror to a pattern America has yet to confront honestly: the growing, deadly wave of far-right, racially motivated extremism that too often gets downplayed or deflected. Each name she mentioned, Charleston, Pittsburgh, El Paso, Buffalo, represents a chapter in the long story of how hate metastasizes when it's ignored, excused, or politically rebranded. These weren't random outbursts of violence. They were the direct outcomes of an ideology, white supremacy, that continues to find safe harbor in certain corners of politics, media, and online culture. And what's striking is Patel's response. The pauses, the uncertainty, the inability to even recall something as defining as the Charleston church massacre, that wasn't just discomfort. It revealed something deeper: how institutional denial protects extremism. When those in power can't even name the violence for what it is, it becomes easier for it to spread unchecked. Kamlager-Dove's questioning wasn't about scoring points, it was about accountability. She reminded the room that evidence doesn't have a political party. Facts don't take sides. And yet, in today's climate, even acknowledging what happened feels partisan. The truth is, the FBI's own data has long shown that the deadliest acts of domestic terrorism in the U.S. come from the far right, specifically from white supremacist violence. But acknowledging that reality can put officials in an uncomfortable position, especially when political loyalties and ideological alliances are at play. Her closing point hit hard. Evidence is agnostic. It's a statement of principle that cuts through all the noise. In a world where political figures try to redefine reality, the job of investigators, journalists, and citizens alike is to follow where the evidence leads, not where it's convenient to go. And when the Congresswoman entered those reports into the record, from the Anti-Defamation League, Cato Institute, and others, she was doing something powerful, building an official paper trail of truth. Because if government institutions won't acknowledge the facts, then history will. This hearing wasn't just about policy. It was about truth, and whether we still have the courage to face it. If you found this exchange eye-opening, make sure you subscribe to Left Lens, where we unpack the stories that others gloss over, connect the dots they leave out, and challenge the narratives that shape how we see power, justice, and truth. Because the lens you look through determines the reality you see.